Today, I would like to share with you 3 ideas that will help you to become more successful in your goals. Most of the time, we go through life unsatisfied because we know that there is something we need to be doing, pursuing our dreams, pursuing our goals, and we're not doing that. So I want to share with you 3 ideas that I believe can help you. I'm very confident in these ideas because they have helped me accomplish a lot, and therefore I want to share with you. Get your pen or your paper or your tablet where you're writing your notes and take these points down. Number 1, you have to overcome the internal resistance to change. Most of the time in life, we are not able to start something because there's an internal resistance to change. You don't want to change the things how they have been. Maybe you have this job that's giving you a check at the end of the month or at the end of each period. You don't want things to change because you know maybe pursuing your goals will make you deviate or move away from what is normal. So you have to overcome that internal change. And sometimes that internal change is there, that internal resistance to change is there because we are afraid. So how do you overcome that fear? Or how do you overcome that resistance to change? I believe, number 1, you have to start focusing on what is in your control. There's 2 spheres. There's that what you can control, there's that which is out of your control. If you think about 2 spheres or 2 circles, one which is bigger and there's a smaller one, whatever is smaller one, the inside circle, is what you can control. Don't worry about what you cannot control because that is out of your control and there's nothing you can do about it. But whatever you can control, ask yourself, what is in my control so that I can start fulfilling my goals? Some of the things that are in our control is time. If you decide, I'm going to put away 2 hours a week to work on my goal, maybe your goal is to start a podcast, maybe your goal is to write a book, maybe your goal is to go back to school. If you decide, I'm going to put this time away to go to school or to start what I need to start, then you'll find that you'll be in a better chance to overcome that internal resistance to change. Okay? Number 2, what you have to do also to overcome this resistance to change, you have to ask yourself, what do I have right now? These are the resources. What resources do I have right now, in the moment? Again, number 1 on that list is what? Time. Maybe you could have some money saved up, put away. Maybe you have a friend who knows something. What information or what resources do you have at hand that can help you? And then number 3, you have to ask yourself, what is the first step that I need to take? What is the first step that I need to take to start pursuing my dreams or my goals? That is very important because if you cannot find the first step, you will find that you're worrying about the step that is maybe downstream, that you don't need to take at this point. So focus on asking yourself, what is the first step that I need to do today? If, for example, you're going to class or going back to school, you need to register the first introductory classes. If you're starting a business, write your business plan. If you are writing a book, get a piece of paper or your computer and start taking the first step of writing those few 100 words per day. You have to ask yourself, what do I need? Because now you have to start asking, what do I need today? Not tomorrow. What do you need today to take that first step? What do you need today to take that first step? That's number 1, overcoming the internal resistance to change. Number 2, you have to find and trust the process. You must find a process and then trust that process to take you through in fulfilling your goals. So how do you find a process? For me, the way I've found many processes that I've used, for example, in writing my books or even going to school or pursuing the career that I have, is by asking myself, who has done this before? There could be a person who has done this before, which is always the case. Then study how they did it. Find out how they did it. Ask yourself, what the first step they did, what resources they use. Ask yourself, is there anybody who has done this? What system they have in place? Study books. There's a lot of books that have been written out there on how to do 1 or 2 things. So ask yourself, has there anybody who has done this before? And then study them. Study how they did it. And then you'll find that now over time, you're going to customize that system for you. I remember when I was writing my book, my second book, I decided it's not going to be as complicated as the first one. So I decided to look for a person who has done it before. I remember my friend who had written a book before, and I asked him, how did you do it? He told me every day, you'd wake up in the morning, write 300 words, not more, not less. And I started doing that. I started doing that every single day. And I found that that was the process that was there in place to fulfill to writing a book. So you have to find a person who has done it and do it as they did or even better. So what happens when you find and trust the process? You're going to build momentum. Momentum is so important. I mean, think about a train that is moving, let's say 100 miles per hour. It did not start at 100 miles per hour. It started at 0, but it builds steam, it builds strength up to 100 miles an hour. For you to stop that train, it's going to require you for a couple miles because it has built momentum. So momentum is so important in you fulfilling your goals. And you build momentum by finding and trusting a process or using a process. You'll overcome boredom. See, most of the time in life, we're tired or we're afraid of being bored. And some of the goals that you have will take time. And most of the time, those in the face of you pursuing your goal, there will be nothing happening. I remember when I was at my grandmother's place and we were cutting stone. And sometimes you would knock on the stone several times without seeing any change. But after a couple hundred of knocking that stone with a mallet, what will happen, the stone gonna break open. So you want to build momentum so that you can be able to overcome the boredom of doing the routine things, the mundane things. Those are the things that people don't want to do. People want to do the exciting things, but they don't want to be bored. So it's fine for you to be bored when you're pursuing your goals, because when you pursue your goals, you'll find that when you overcome this boredom, you'll find that's how you start getting breakthroughs. Okay? So that is very important for you to be able to overcome the mundane things. So the second thing was what? To find and trust the process. When I was going through school, when I was writing my dissertation, I had this sticker on my desk, always, trust the process. I read it every single day, trust the process, because there were so many times when I was doing research and my experiments were not working. There were so many times I was writing papers and I felt like this is an endless task. But when I trust the process, this is how I came to the completion of my degree and earned something that I'd desired for many years. So I would advise you to get a piece of paper, write, trust the process, so that when you're sitting down working on your goals, you'll be trusting that process that you already have in place. Now, the final thing, the idea number 3 is this: take failing or failure positively. For you to take failing positively, first of all, think about it. I just use failing and positive in the sentence. Because there's a lot of times we take failure very negatively. And when you take failure negative, it cannot benefit you. But now when you start thinking, how can I take failure? Because failure is part of life. You're going to fail many times. So you have to take failure positively. Now, let me explain how you do it. First of all, you have to have a mindset. You have to have a mindset that failure is part of the journey. When you're starting your journey, think about, okay, I'm going to fail at one point, but how can I benefit from this failure? Now you start changing how you think about failure positively. So you start thinking, you have the mindset that failure is part of the journey. Failure is not a destination. Always remind yourself, because I failed today, this is not my end. This is just an occurrence. This is an event that has taken place today, and I can be able to overcome it. And then number 3, you have to remind yourself that you are not the failure. You cannot identify that failing is an event, and that is not your identity. I am not a failure, because you need to bounce back from that failure. So again, the mindset is this: think about failure as part of the journey and not thinking about it as a destination. And last but not least, you have to start dissociating yourself from the failure. What I mean by this, don't identify, don't use failure as your identity, but look at it as an event that you can be able to overcome. Now, the importance of you taking failure positively is that it's going to help you to reflect. It's going to help you take full responsibility of what has happened. You're going to start asking yourself, what has led, what decisions have I made that I need to change? What actions that I've made that I need to change for me to overcome or not to repeat this failure again? So it's going to help you to reflect, to take full responsibility, and to prevent you from shifting the blame or rationalizing things. So you need to be able to take failure positive for you to start reflecting. And when you start reflecting, it's going to help you become responsible person who going to take responsibility of your actions and change those actions. And then you're going to ask yourself, okay, what can I take from this failure so that I cannot go back to the same failure? What can I take? What can I learn What have I learned so far that can I be able to apply? You see, this is what I call turning failure from a graveyard to a school. Because failure can be a place where a lot of things die, a lot of dreams die. But if you decide, I'm going to take positively failure, then it's going to help you to turn that failure from a graveyard to what? To something that is good, something that you can be able to learn from, to a school that you can learn from. So I'm going to summarize again for you. These are 3 ideas that can help you to become more successful in fulfilling your goals. Number 1, you have to overcome that internal resistance to change. Number 2, you have to find and trust the process. And then number 3, you have to start taking failure positively. I believe this can help you because it has helped me. And I wish you all the best in your goals.